I know you're wondering, what is the KSI show? I've got musicians, special guests, surprises. Guys, when I tell you that this is gonna be the biggest show that you will see this year, I'm not capping. I'm not capping. I put a lot of time and effort into this. I spent over 2 million in the production to make sure that this whole online event is one of the greatest things that you'll ever see. Might blow up the internet. And it's not just one thing that will blow up the internet. It's like several things throughout the live show. Spend all that money, all that time, effort for nothing. Legit, I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Fuck, man. I really thought I did something, man.
On July 17th, as someone who has grown up with KSI's videos, I stayed up until 4 AM Australian time to watch the KSI show. I was excited to see a show that promised a recap of KSI's past and how he got to the point he was at today. Obviously, it was also going to be awesome to see some new songs performed live, with cool guest appearances and some hilarious skits involving KSI, the Sidemen, and Logan Paul. Boy was I disappointed. The 1 hour pre-show was actually just a 10 minutes behind the scenes video which just looped for an hour. The video was actually pretty interesting, but after the first loop, you can't just click off and wait till 5 AM because that's the main event, right? Well, the KSI show overall was an extremely underwhelming experience. It was more of a virtual concert than a show. The skits were so cringe, if KSI wasn't in them, he'd probably put them in his next Try Not to Cringe video. I've seen better acting in pornos, and the humor was just really, really forced.
Get out of the water, there's a shark!
What, a shark?
Get out of the water!
Shark?
There's a shark in the water!
Wait a minute, there's no shark in the bathtub.
Aren't you glad you had a lifeguard here to save you?
I guess. What? Wait a minute, you should go. There's no need for you to be here.
Was the show bad overall? Not really, but would I pay $30 to watch it again? Definitely not. And I was definitely expecting more from KSI. So what was the show really about? Well, I thought it started very well. I can't really show clips from the actual show, KSI will personally bend me over, but I can kind of talk to you guys through a live reaction. It starts with a picture of KSI's new album, which kind of fades into the real KSI sitting at his desk, and then the entire set kind of opens up, and KSI walks through onto stage for the performance of his song. And you gotta give credit where it's due. That was an insanely cool start. I thought it was really creative and a hype way to get us started. After KSI finishes performing his first song, which is pretty entertaining, we see some KSI lookalikes kidnap him and take him into a van. Then, in the van, he performs his next song, which I honestly thought not only was the best performance of the show, but was actually really, really creative and fun to see. Everything up until this point I thought was really dope, but then from there the show kinda just goes all downhill. There's a series of incoherent, cringy skits which were honestly just painful to watch. It was like a bad fever dream, and honestly, if I hadn't paid for it, I probably would have clicked off. There was an annoying bit with Beerus, some stupid advice from the scam artist Dan Bilzerian, there's an ongoing bit with Jonathan Ross who plays some weirdo horse-loving nerd, then after a while it builds up to the big skit with Logan Paul and the Sidemen. The skit was just the Sidemen being old and mourning someone's passing, and then KSI finds out it's Logan Paul, and honestly, Logan's acting was probably the only decent performance of all the skits, but not really enough to save the show. It was all really confusing and just a mess. The skits were kind of sprinkled throughout the virtual concerts, and roughly 15 minutes of the 1 hour show were skits and the rest were just songs. So why did the KSI show fail? The main reason? Advertising. Leading up to the event, KSI hyped the show as if it would be the greatest thing since sliced bread. 16th, 17th, and 18th of July. These 3 days are going to blow up the internet. Youngblood was apparently going to show up, but he didn't. They played a video of him singing though. Once in a lifetime event, gonna be huge. Can't wait for you lot to see this. 16th of July can't come sooner. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. It's going to be the biggest event of the year. Bro, when you lot watch the KSI show next Saturday, you're all going to lose your head. Reddit finna pop off so hard. He wasn't wrong. Once in a lifetime event and loads more surprises for you guys. The only thing that was surprising was how poorly written the show was. The writers of American Dad helped create the script. You could take a dump on a typewriter and it would produce a Shakespearean play compared to the writing on this show. The show was meant to be 90 minutes, but ended up being just over an hour. It was meant to be £15, but ended up being 18 with hidden fees. And probably the most misleading part of this entire sham was this photo. Why the hell was this even necessary? Spoiler alert, they didn't fight, or spar, or do anything remotely close to what this photo is obviously suggesting. There was a tiny little Easter egg at the end of the show about it, but funnily enough, they literally posted it as a promo video. Literally the same as this ad right here. They walk out to like 2 lines of banter, they get in the ring, pretend like they're gonna fight, go for the punch, and that's it. That was the entire bit. And I know KSI said afterwards that he never promised a fight, but as a wise man once said,
"That's not fraud. That's not fraud. That is, I would call that false advertising."
clickbaiting your audience to click on a YouTube video is fair game, but falsely advertising your show to make your fans spend their money on it? It's frankly unacceptable and disappointing to see from JJ. Obviously, I don't think anyone was realistically expecting a proper boxing match, but at least a spar or a proper full skit or something would have been better. Or better yet, don't use this as promo and just have it as a funny Easter egg. And look, I get it. The man is just trying to promote his show. But for someone who has based his whole brand around integrity and being honest and transparent with fans, this just seemed a bit wrong. Overall, I think the show was still decent, but it could do with some really simple improvements. Firstly, advertise correctly and tell us what we're actually going to get. Obviously, save some surprises, but don't overhype what was simply a virtual concert with some skits. Speaking of skits, why the hell would KSI, literally one of the funniest people on the internet who we all know and love, need the help of American dad writers? JJ, you're funny. We want your humor, not someone else's that's going to sound forced. We want to see people that were actually involved in your life, like Deji, your parents, Vidal, your friends, and more of the sidemen, not Dan Bilzerian. It won't cost you $2 million and it won't take you 11 months to make. Ultimately, we want to see more of what KSI is actually about, and we want him to be himself. I think every one of us, although disappointed, know that he will come back bigger and better next time, and I'm excited to see what's next.
I don't know.